women are 80% more likely to change their natural hair to fit in with their office environment. We have to do better, and this is a major step forward. This past year, we found ourselves in the midst of 3 crises: a public health emergency, an economic catastrophe, and a racial justice crisis. It's critical that we all work together in a bipartisan way to pass and implement policies that will address and root out racism in all aspects of our society. So while the Crown Act is just one step in fighting racism, we have so much more to do. And so to the skeptics out there, I'd say this, because some people say, well, why should we be spending our time on this? Well, I'm a white woman with straight hair, and if I had $1 for every time on the campaign trail somebody told me how I should wear my hair differently, I wouldn't have to be in public service. And I will remember the day that the hiring partner of a big Chicago law firm told me that I didn't get hired because I wore my hair in a ponytail. So I, for one, can tell you that this is a very important piece of legislation that will move our state and our families forward. So with that, we have some amazing legislators and advocates who will be speaking about this important legislation, and it is my honor to introduce the inimitable and fierce State Representative Robin Porter for a few words.
Oh my goodness, woo! Yes, the Queen Act is what I've been calling it, but it is the Crown Act. And I don't know what that is about, but I really, every time I think about the Crown Act, it comes out Queen Act, crown on, shine on. But this is really a bill that addresses not just women, but men and children. And for me, the most important component are the babies, our precious babies. This means the world to me. We started out with this last year, and due to the pandemic, it came to a screeching halt. But here we are today for a ceremonial signing, because this is actually law. The good governor did this last week, so this is ceremonial. But what it represents is our ability to come together and work collectively to create liberating spaces for everyone. And this is truly what this symbolizes to me today. Today is a day of liberation, of celebration, of freedom, giving Black and brown people, women, men, and children the room and the opportunity, the spaces to show up authentically who we are and not be defined by the way we wear our hair. You know, and I know some people say I'm not my hair. Well, I say I am my hair. My hair is me. And depending on how I feel is how I show up. I may wear an afro, I may put it in some twists, I may let it dry and get curly, or I might cut it all off, because as y'all know, I did that, right? Just took it all the way down, because sometimes the crown is just a crown. So I am just so proud to be here with all of my supporters, the coalition. I'm sad, you know, we did this kind of quick, so Adjoa, I have to give her a shout out. She is a New Haven resident who is leading this coalition nationally throughout the United States. And Connecticut is the first state in 2021 to do this. Yeah, give me some. First state this year to do this, and the 8th state to join the coalition. And I can't even begin to tell you how impressed I am, because I'm gonna call my friend out here, and I'm just gonna continue to speak life over Miss Christina, our 13-year-old who is doing some phenomenal things in her life and setting examples and blazing trails for the young people to let them know that we can show up authentically, you, me, whoever we are. My co-chair, Senator Julie Kushner, couldn't have done it without her. And I want to give her a shout out, because I tell you, not all times you work with people that really do understand what equity is about. She came on board, and that was her first concern. I want to know, why, not only why this is important, but how do we make it right? Where is the equity in this? And so many people didn't know that we go through this, right? That this is what we experience, that we really do have to conform. It is really, become a part of our lives in this society where we have to try to assimilate and be professional. It's been said that the way we wear our natural hair is not professional. It's not tidy. It's not appropriate. So I am, okay. So I'm just really excited to be here. I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to be a vessel fit for his use. I'm just continuing to do what I've been called to do. Many are called, few are chosen. I feel like this is our moment, this is our season, and that we are going to finally get everything that we deserve. And the Crown Act is just the beginning, my people. We are coming for our check. We're coming for everything that we haven't gotten, that we should have gotten, and we're starting with the Crown Act. We're going to show up authentically, and we're going to demand what it is we deserve. No handouts, hand-ups, and just give us what we deserve. So thank you all for coming out today. Thank you for being with us today. Thank you to my coalition for supporting. We got a lot more work to do, and we shall get it done in 2021. Thank you, and God bless you.
Great, thank you. Thank you so much, Representative Porter. It is now my pleasure to introduce State Senator Julie Kushner.
I just want to say that I asked Robin to come back up with me because I felt so honored to be a part of this process. It is rare that you get to participate in such an intimate way on an issue of racial equity when you're a white person. But I want to say that to be an anti-racist, we have to begin to examine every aspect of our lives, every aspect of society, to root out systemic racism. And you need a partner to do that. And I have a great partner in Representative Porter. So I couldn't have done this certainly without her and all of my colleagues in the Senate. I brought out the bill, as is the tradition when you're the chair of the Committee of Cognizance. But I didn't speak much on the bill, except to say that we have to be intentional in our work and look at everything we're doing through a racial equity lens, particularly this year, because we all witnessed the murder of George Floyd, and that has to have had an impact on everything we do. But when it came to the Senate, it was my colleagues, Senator McCrory, Senator Winfield, Senator Cabrera, and of course, the inevitable Senator Moore, who brought to light the lived experience that really stresses and underscores the importance of this Crown Act. And so it's my honor, my privilege to be here, but I wouldn't be here without my sister. And so I really want to say how much I appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate
And I appreciate the governor for doing this, our lieutenant governor who heard the testimony, and the YWCA, which has always been a leader in racial equity.
Amen.
So thank you.
So I'd now like to introduce a member of our commissioner team. We're so proud of the amazing commissioners that we have, and it's my honor to bring up DCF Commissioner Vanessa Durantes.
So good morning, everyone. Thank you to my boss, Governor Lamont, for his appointment, of his support, and his recognition that representation matters. As the first African American commissioner of the Connecticut Department of Children and Families, I am also a Black woman who chooses to wear her hair in its natural state, natural being defined as having no chemical processes to alter my hair's texture. This act represents the opportunity to share my personal experiences and give voice to the implicit bias associated with this issue. Implicit bias is subconscious and results in judgments that happen in an instant. Explicit bias is more deliberate. This is an issue that's beyond the workplace. To remove discriminatory expectations within the workplace is an important step towards identity. The significant factor in considering this type of discrimination is the impact to Black children and young people. As we all know, identity development is an important factor in child and adolescent life stages. The issue of natural hair and the rejection that is resulted in Black children feeling ostracized, bullied, disciplined unjustly, or forced to acquiesce and assimilate to handbook rules that exclude specific natural hairstyles. The child on the other side of that discriminatory practice is left with feelings of humiliation, sadness, anger, frustration, and confusion. I wish I could tell those children that they do not have to be concerned about negative reactions, that they are beautiful, and that those reactions are isolated and should not occur. I have a unique perspective on this issue as a graduate of one of the state's technical high schools where I studied the trade requirements to get the state board exam for hairdressing. I taught cultural competency courses at one of our state universities, and I co-chaired the Women and Children's Health and Safety Subcommittee of a Council on Women and Girls. So I recognize that it's important to lift up these issues. A common form of overt racism is the suppression of a person's right to establish standards that directly conflict with this person's cultural or ethnic identity. A person's wardrobe, language, and hairstyle are expressions of their heritage, pride, and should be revered in a country and a state as diverse as ours. Racism is tempered when we stand up and call it out for what it is. These conversations can be difficult and at times painful, but they are a must. We can only overcome differences by engaging with each other in an environment of mutual trust, safety, and truth. Representation matters, and as I reinforce the self-esteem of my own daughters, the issue is far more than just rebuking standards of beauty that for decades haven't included women with physical features that I have. This is about identity, this is about inclusion, this is about fairness, and it is about equity. The little girls and young women who will come after me, because being the first means that I have a representation to make sure that I make this world a better place for those that are come behind me, they need to come so unencumbered. This legislation is a step in the right direction, but true equity is the eradication of the underlying racism that makes it necessary in the first place. Governor, thank you for positioning Connecticut on the right side of history.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Durantes. It is now my pleasure to introduce Melinda Johnson, who is the Director of Community Engagement and Advocacy for the YWCA Hartford.
Before I get started, let me say that man over there has become my office mate and my highest cheerleader and my greatest support, so thank you to my husband. The Crown Act is an example of transformative legislation combating racist and discriminatory practices in our society. This is not only a unique and progressive bill, but it required unique and progressive leadership to bring it to fruition in our state. And we see that in the person of Adjoa B. Asamoah, who is the chief strategist for the national movement, in the leadership of Representative Porter, who continued to be a champion for change in our communities, in the allyship of Senator Julie Kushner, who recognized the immensity of this moment and the need for us to step out in truth. And in the response of the local Crown Coalition, which responded quickly when the YWCA said there's a moment right now where we need to take action to see change in our society. If you are a part of the local Crown Coalition, won't you just wave your hand? Yeah. These phenomenal women come from all walks of life in our society, leaders, all of them in their own right. The coalition and community leaders that stand here today are a representation of what a persistent outcry can accomplish. And this ceremonial signing is an example of how much power can be enacted in the stroke of a pen. Putting an end to discriminatory practices is merely the tip of an iceberg, which remains unaddressed under an ocean of complicity. A complicity which could be broken by the stroke of a pen. an iceberg which we as a society can begin to erode with the power of our outcry. Today, we celebrate the passing of the Crown Act in tandem with several other outcries that still stand, including the cry for racism to be declared a public health crisis in the state of Connecticut. We stand here today warmed by the joy that Black and brown women, children, and men can now participate in public spaces like school and the workplace with their heads held high and free from hair discrimination because of the Crown Act. But much more must be done to ensure quality of life and dignity for all citizens is upheld in the state of Connecticut. Thank you.
Melinda, thank you so much. It's now my pleasure to bring up Adrienne Cochran, CEO of the YWCA.
Thank you. Good morning. Good morning. What a pleasure it is to be here with you all today, and how important today is. And symbolic or not, what has happened is important. Thank you, Governor Lamont. Thank you, Lieutenant Governor Bicewicz, and thank you to everyone who made this day, the passage of this law, possible. It's an important story about the difference between the power of me, which is maybe this much, and the power of we, and what we are able to accomplish when we work together. The YWCA Hartford region for over 150 years has existed in this community with a goal to help women and girls on their empowerment journey and to help eliminate racism. And this bill, Governor, goes one step further in helping us in that aim. And while we're recognizing people, you see me, you see Melinda at the mic, but I want to recognize some of the other tireless advocates from YWCA Hartford region who are out here today. Just raise your hands, please, to be recognized. Thank you so much. I follow Melinda. When Melinda says, what are we going to do? Or in the vernacular, what we gonna do? She leads, I follow. Thank you all so much today. We really, really appreciate your coming out today. Thank you.
Adrienne, thank you so much for your leadership. It's now my pleasure to bring forward Bloomfield's Mayor Suzette DeBeetham Brown, who's been very vocal on this issue.
Good morning. So my name is Suzette DeBeetham Brown, and I serve as the best town in the state of Connecticut, Bloomfield. But I'm so honored to be here this morning, to our governor for making history, our lieutenant governor, to our state senator, Melinda Johnson, and the YW, and to our Shiro, State Representative Porter. Every time I think about this Crown Act and what it means, I get emotional. I wasn't here when they gave women the right to vote. I wasn't around when they gave blacks the right to vote. But I am here when they give us the opportunity to show up in our most authentic way, and to let everybody know that we are here and that we matter and that we're seen. I have 2 amazing daughters and 5 wonderful multiracial nieces that now can rock their hair however they want to. They can change it on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. They can do whatever they want to do. My youngest daughter said to me, Mom, why is this necessary? And I said to her, sweetheart, for your mother, who is the first Caribbean-born black mayor woman of the town of Bloomfield, when someone looked at me and said, you cannot represent us by the way you look. I don't like the way you speak, I don't like the way you show up, and I don't like your hair. Today, I'm showing up in my most authentic way. And Miss Ma'am, there's a bill behind me because people fought for us to be here in our most authentic way. I will never, ever forget the fight, State Rep Porter. I will never forget the long nights, Miss Althea, that you had to wait to testify. So I thank everyone. I thank the coalition. And yes, it's not a hand out, it's a hand up. And yes, we fought for this as a step forward in equity, and we will continue the fight. Whatever it is that we have to do to have other people realize that we deserve to be here. We deserve to be at every table, and we deserve to amplify our voice on every single issue. Today it's hair, tomorrow it's going to be something else, but you will have to hear us, you will have to deal with us, and we will continue to move this fight forward. Thank you very much, State Rep Porter. Thank you, Melinda Johnson. Thank YW. Thank you to the governor and the lieutenant governor, and thank you to all the supporters. The fight is here. We've got on the bus, and we're gonna move this thing forward. Thank you.
Well done. Thank you so much, Madam Mayor. And before I introduce the governor, I just want to ask Christina Jackson just to come forward so you can see her. Christina is part of the Young Women's Leadership Corps, and her mom is over there, and Christina's going to help the governor when he signs this important legislation. So with that, it is my honor to bring up my partner in government, our wonderful governor, Governor Ned Lamon.
Hi everyone, I'm Christina, and today I would like to thank everybody who helped me with this opportunity to share my story and to help other young women who may feel uncomfortable with themselves, to help them feel a little bit more comfortable and happy with themselves. And I would just like to say that this experience opened so many doors for me in my future, and it's illegal for someone to discriminate against me for my hair in the workplace or at school, and it won't stop me from getting any experiences in my future or right now. Thank you.
All right, Christina. Hi. Yeah, Julie, Robin, you inspire me, but I think about Christina every day when we sign bills like this. Look, a little bit of spring in the air, isn't it? And this is a time of hope. It's a time of change. And every day you fight for a more perfect union. And that's what the Crown Act's about. Look, I'm an old white guy, and you know, when I grow up, where everybody's always talking about a melting pot. Maybe you heard that phrase. And in part, they said, you know, we're all gonna melt, we're gonna become like each other, we're gonna dress alike, we're gonna speak alike, we're gonna wear our hair alike, we're gonna change our names so they sound more American. And that was what they thought maybe about a melting pot, but that's not what I thought, you know. I think what makes this America great is it's an idea. And it gives us the freedom to be who we are. And it gives us the liberation, as Robin said, to be who we are. It gives us the authenticity to say who we are, as Suzette said. And I think this is a really big deal unto itself, and it's a big deal because it's part of something bigger that we've been trying to do together for a while. You know, it started with having, Christina, more teachers in the classroom, black and brown, and people that you could look to and identify with and can identify with you and give you that sense of a role model, and that's important for those kids, and it's important for the white kids, so they see teachers and role models and they can learn from each other. It was part of what Doug McCrory and a lot of you took the lead on a year or so ago when we did African American and Hispanic and Native American history being taught in our schools. And that's all about who we are. And don't say to me that's identity politics. That's about who our identity is. And it's our identity as Christina's a young African American woman. It's about our identity as Americans. And that's why it's important. The only thing I didn't like about that bill is I don't know why it's a separate course. It ought to be built into every single class that we do as part of what it is. And yeah, maybe I can. And that's what the Crown Act's about. The Crown Act it's about discrimination, and it's a lot of subtle discrimination and unsaid discrimination, and looks and glances discrimination, employment discrimination. But it's just a reminder that we are allowed to be who we are, and we celebrate who we are. We celebrate our identity. We celebrate our differences. We celebrate how we dress. We celebrate how we speak, and we celebrate our hair. And that's what this is about. And it's what makes America an amazing place. And Robin and Julie and everybody, Vanessa, everybody who spoke, and particularly Christina, thank you for making this important in this first day of spring. Let's sign it.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah, we have
4 more.
Okay. Before we have the governor sign this important legislation, I'd like to bring forward members of the Black and Puerto Rican Caucus, and I'm going to bring them up all together. Representative Jerry Reyes, Representative Tammy Exum, and Representative Anthony Nolan. And Representative Porter. Okay.
No, ladies first. Ladies first. I didn't spoke.
Well, good morning. I'm so happy to be here this morning. I was thinking about it. Everything that I would say has been said, except I find it amazing that we are showing up and we are legislating, and I so appreciate the governor. I so appreciate the leadership of Representative Porter, who I've learned so much from in a very short amount of time. I thank Senator Kushner for her support and advocacy, but I have to say, and all the women behind me and all the women who can't be here this morning. But it shocks me that in 2021, we are having to have this type of legislation to begin with, to show up exactly as we authentically are. Most people get up in the mornings and put on the best that they put on, but they don't have to worry about being discriminated against or treated differently simply for being who they are. And I remember so many years ago when I was a child, the impressions that are made, they start really early. That's why it's so important that our young boys and girls realize what this is all about. I remember putting shawls on my head to make it look like I had straight hair. I remember having people always touching my hair as though it was something so unique and different when they weren't people who looked like me. And I am so grateful here that I am in a state that says, you know, this is important to you, therefore we will make it important to ourselves. And we want to speak to the values that we want our young people to have to feel good about themselves. And if it's important that we have to legislate it, then so be it. And I'm so grateful to be in a place where that has occurred. I am hopeful. I looked at where the different outlets that picked this up, and it wasn't lost on me that it was the teens. It was looking at Teen Magazine, Teen Vogue picked this up because they thought it's really important for young people to have a clear understanding that who they are is absolutely fine. The way that you show up is so important, whether you want to wear it straight, curly, or anything in between. That does not speak to who you are, and it certainly does not speak to the content of your character nor your ability. So thank you so much for being here. I'm so happy to be here this day and so happy to be a part of the Black and Puerto Rican Caucus. And next comes Representative Nolan.
I'm here a little happy and a little sad. I owe a great deal of gratitude to you, Robin and Senator, because when I was young, I used to go to work with my grandmother. And one day, she smacked the living heck out of me for speaking out of turn because I watched a white man put his hands on her hair and tell her to change it differently. And I didn't have power. I felt helpless, and she said, never tell the boss anything like that again. and I look up to my grandmother, Iris Persip, and my mother, who's still living, and tell them, I had the power. I had the power to shut down something that was unacceptable and should never, ever have brought us before you to thank somebody for something that shouldn't even be happening. To all those princesses that I was the school officer with at New London High, who came in my office crying because people were discriminating against their hair. This is for you. No longer will anybody discriminate against you and not be held accountable.
Amen. Amen.
I do have to thank the governor, Lieutenant Governor. I appreciate you, but it took too long. And it doesn't stop here. We got to move on to housing, education, and criminal justice reform. It doesn't stop here. There's power in our black community, and you need to know it, and you need to stand up, and you need to come out, and this is what happens when we do. I thank God for allowing his sun to shine on that crown, because this is what needed to be done. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Nolan, for that inspiring speech. Governor Lamont, Lieutenant Governor, my colleagues, as the chair of the BPRC, I have said often, I get to chair the most prestigious and I believe the most powerful caucus under this dome. And it is a privilege to be here serving, representing the 75th District from Waterbury. And although, in general, the majority of it appears in general to be an African-American bill. But as the governor from Bloomfield the mayor from Bloomfield just spoke, as an Afro-Caribbean and as a child of the 70s, the short hair you see now was a big afro in the 70s, which wasn't accepted, and it was completely frowned upon, especially by my grandmother. So it's interesting that Representative Nolan brings up that story. And I'm the only son. I have 8 sisters, so I know about hair and I know about bathroom time. 8 sisters, and we were all in school at the same time. And let me tell you something, I had the shortest bathroom break. I had 3 minutes to do what I had to do, and my other 8 sisters all had to get through there, and it was all because of their hair. So at the end of the day, I look at this as more than symbolic. I think it's long overdue, and I think this is just a tipping point of many, many great things to happen here. And Governor, Lieutenant Governor, we're counting on you to lead, but you can rest assured, sir, the BPRC will be in everything that we do here in 2021 and 22. God bless you all. Thank you very much.
All right, well, Representative Reyes, we know why you turned out so well. It's because of your 8 sisters.